Tale Podcast, how stories shape and change our lives. Hello, everyone, and thank you once again for joining me on this last podcast of 2024. As a way to end the year, I just wanted to send out a quick thank you to all of the people who have stuck with me, who are listening to this and want to continue to participate in whatever it is that we're trying to do here together. I've already enjoyed having some wonderful conversations with people, and I wanted to just share something that struck me from my previous episode with my friend Bear that reminded me of what it means to bring reconciliation to our own inner selves, and how that might look a little bit different than perhaps what a lot of us have been taught that it's supposed to look like. So I was taught, like so many of us, to hide or purge so many aspects of myself into my own shadow growing up. And it feels like a majority of my adulthood has been about unweaving, undoing, unlearning, deconstructing much of what has been handed to me as quote unquote wisdom when I was younger. Through my wonderful friendship with Bear and through our ongoing conversation together, of which my last episode was a part of, I was thinking about how he took us through his journey of the prayer wheel, and how when he talked about facing in the westward way into what he described as his own darkness. And that whatever was showing up to him, that was his job to take responsibility for, his work, his lesson, and how that gets sort of taken throughout the rest of the wheel. The way that he described it to me later, as we were talking through more of that, and in response to something that I said in that conversation about the words that I used were getting rid of the darknesses that we see. And Bear corrected me, and he says it's not about getting rid of those darknesses necessarily. And it's not about getting rid of all of our own stories about ourselves that we've collected over time, even though it is true that some of our own internal stories will naturally come and go on their own. And in the interest of wanting to not be too all or nothing about it, recognizing that there's room and space for a lot of different ways. Some stories we do need to let go of, or we do need to let die. And then there are other stories that we carry with us. And coming back to what Bear said was, it's not about getting rid of those things so much as it is about bringing those things into balance with the rest of yourself and the rest of the parts of yourself. All my old stories, or most of my old stories perhaps, even as I no longer buy into them as primarily instructive or primary sources of wisdom, they all still exist within me. And it dawned on me that I've been operating in my adulthood as though I was to purge myself of all of them before I could be whole, healed, or even happy. I had been essentially operating under the same rules and the same premises that were handed to me in youth, even if I traded old stories for different ones or newer ones. It was just a different version of me getting rid of or denying some part of myself so that other parts can flourish. As Bear was reminding me, it's about balance. And balance is not something that one achieves. It is something that one either chooses to practice or not practice. All my old stories, the ones I like and the ones I don't like, the ones that dwell in the light and the ones that inhabit the shadows, the ones that feel redeeming and the ones that feel or have felt diminishing or destructive in some way. They still have a voice, and they still have a reality in my own imagination. They speak of their own accord, whether I want them to or not. If I attempt to deny their voices, they push back. And then, of course, in that way, they can become actually destructive. So it's my job, and I think it's all of our jobs, to take responsibility, to see our own darknesses. They're instructive, they do have wisdom, but they also have a task for us. There's something that we need to carry out of the darkness and into the light of our lives and work overtly. It's about reconciliation. I carry all my stories with me, all my old stories and all my new stories. Either I choose to keep them at war with each other, or I teach them how to be in relationship with each other. It's hard. It's often painful. It's also tremendously healing, transformative, and vivifying if we allow it to be. It continues to be my distinct pleasure to be able to produce this podcast and to continue to explore stories even further. In the new year, I have a number of different guests that I'm really excited to introduce to you. We're going to have some fun conversations about a lot of different interesting things. So please stay tuned. And in the meantime, as you yourself are facing the closing out of this particular year and perhaps having a lot of complex feelings about what the following year has in store for you and even for us collectively, just a reminder, it's about balance, and it's about reconciliation. And that's how we learn to love ourselves. That's how we learn to take care of ourselves. And that's how we learn to nurture our stories appropriately with curiosity and compassion. Have a wonderful holiday season and a very happy new year to all of you. I look forward to seeing you on the other side of that in 2025. As always, take good care of yourselves.